You are live.
Hey, hey. We are live. Welcome to Moto Talk with Steve and Kim.
Glad to see everybody.
Hope you're all doing great.
Mecum or bust. Which of those words applies?
Yeah, both actually. It was an interesting time at Mecum today.
Yeah,
hopefully you're all there.
We'll talk about a lot of it, but the summarization is this. Steve threw in the towel.
Yeah, we brought her back home. It's okay.
Yeah, and it's still just as pretty as it was when it left.
Absolutely. At least I got a detailed job out of it. Hey, John Hill, David Gardner. Hi, StreamYard.
Hi, John.
Wait, that's
How's
nobody.
it going? I'm going to get the red Ducati out this week and ride it.
All right. Well, we are here. Welcome to Moto Talk again with Steve and Kim. I'm Steve, and that's Kim over there. We went to Mecum today, and I'll back up.
And we came back.
All three of us. I'll back up and tell a little bit of how we decided to put my bike in the Mecum auction. It was kind of a spur of the moment type of thing. Kim and I were at the shop, and Kim's like, you know what? Maybe you ought to try putting that bike in the Mecum auction. That thing, will do well. And of course, a lot of times you see what's going on in at the Vegas auctions,
or the rest of the
or
world,
the rest of the stinking world
of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think, okay, well, yeah, maybe it will do pretty well. You know, it's still a first year CB750, even though it's a 70. And those of you
first gen, I like to say.
don't know,
first year.
Yeah, so 69 and 70 are both first generation CB750s. You had the Sandcast, you had the 69 diecast, and you have a 70 diecast, and all three of those are first gen, almost identical bikes.
Yeah, there were 44,000 of them made out of more than 500,000 bikes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've had mine for a little while, and it's from what Kim and I know about the market and the world about CB750s. I would consider us, at least Kim or both of us, close to being experts.
I knew you were going to say that.
On knowing a lot about CB750s. Now, if you really wanted to talk about someone who is a true expert, then we'd have to bring John Miles into the mix and several other people.
Yeah, but I'd say there's this much information to know about them.
Yep.
I feel comfortable that I know about this much.
Yeah. We do know quite a bit about the CB750s, and we've worked on many of them. This is the bike that really got me kind of going in this whole thing. I bought a Honda Dream 305 first, and then really got into the CB750s because this is the iconic bike. This is the one that kind of started it all. And I will have to tell you a funny story. I was taking this out, moping back out to the truck with my bike. Actually, I wasn't too sad. A little butthurt maybe, but I rode it out to the truck and had a great time. And as I was rolling up to the truck, a guy walks across the street, and he goes, "Is that a 305?" And I'm like, not only did I not get the money I wanted,
came from the auction.
He just called it a 305.
Right. Yeah.
What a moron.
And it's funny. Yeah. I mean, my stories start with, I got there early this morning before they opened the bids. I walked around, I found the bike. I stayed with it until just before you got there.
Yeah.
And I answered some questions. There were people coming up looking at it. One guy, the questions should have given me a clue, because I got questions like, does it run?
Mm-hmm.
I got questions like, are the carburetors synchronized?
Okay.
I got questions like, does it leak oil? I got questions like, has it ever been rebuilt, and why not? They wanted to know, not was it original? They wanted to know, why haven't you rebuilt it?
Yeah. They didn't ask, does it have the double cut or the single cut front fender?
None of the things.
Fact is, they said it wrong when they talked about the bike as it was rolling up.
Yeah, but they only know what they're looking at and read. They don't know anything about the bike.
True. Yeah.
And
does it have the ductail seat, or
No, they didn't know any of that. So not only was there not any CB750 expertise in the room, I think the cornerstone of what happened today really was it was Tuesday, It was first thing in the morning. There were only 4 motorcycles, and I think there's about 30 in the auction.
10 a.m. is when they started, and it probably got on the block at about 10:45.
Yeah, and there were a couple glitches to get started, but the bottom line is,
like the power going out. That was
like
one.
the power going out. But there were 4 bikes. The first one was a GS 1000E Suzuki that, I mean, Steve and I both agreed that it was probably a $2,500 bike minimum.
It was nice. And
they started the bids, and they got no bids, and they sold it for $1,000, no reserve.
Unbelievable.
And it was a runner, quiet runner, nice. Seemed like wouldn't have been my style, but it was a nice bike. And the second thing was an adventure type Gucci. I think it was 1,000cc, but it was full Touratech, had the aluminum bags and the whole 9 yards, and it went for $1,200.
That was, I mean, it was like, too.
Come on now.
They were both a couple $1,000.
And then the third bike was a Road Glide that was pretty standard, and it went for not much money at all. And then this bike rolled up.
I was thinking that, Keith, but I was over there sitting in the little circle with my bike, and I was like, I couldn't believe that went for $1,000. It was a nice Suzuki. It was 1,100, wasn't it, or 1,000?
The Suzuki
GS
was 1,000,
yeah.
And it had some modifications and stuff. It was
almost kind of a resto mod.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Right, Roger. I didn't really want to sell it anyway. No problem there. But let me give a shout out to the CB 750 page that I think I posted on the most. Let me make sure I get it right, because it's the Honda CB 750 motorcycles 69 through 78 only. Let me give a shout out to all those guys. I posted the bike up, and everybody was just really mostly wishing that it did really well, or that it would do really well. And some of you were guessing, and actually the low ball guesser won.
Yeah, got a delay.
Oh, do I have a delay? Oh yeah, that's because we're on a different page there. But anyway, everybody was posting out what they thought it would possibly go for, and the numbers were from 8,000, 9,000 up to 25K. Realistically, I still feel that I know that. Actually, I don't even feel. I think I know that the market is somewhere in the 16 to 22 range for this particular bike.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there are a couple things at work here, and we've talked about this a little bit, but I think if we'd gone in there, regardless of day, and it would have bid up to $17,000, $18,000, you'd go, well, okay, people are trying to get a deal. They're at Mecum. They know they're going to have to pay some sort of bidder's fee after they buy the thing, and they might be in the $20,000 range, but it didn't meet reserve because the reserve was just under 20 grand. I could have justified that, but what really happened was it showed up. It was 10 in the morning. We watched people pounding down.
I mean, they were
drinking
barely
already,
even awake out there in their little tables.
They're pounding down Bloody Marys like it's going out of style, and it's 10 in the morning, right? So 4 bikes, 3 of which nobody cared about, and then your bike, and somebody did at least toss out a $5,000 bid, then a $9,000 bid, because they're like, shit, if nobody's going to buy this bike, I guess I'll try at least.
And the crazy thing is there's probably a CT70, a restored CT70 that went for more than 9.
Probably so. And there's going to be more. Really, so really I think the one of the lessons is if it only bids up to half or less of the reserve, there's nobody in the room that really cares.
Yeah.
And that's what we really got into. There might be somebody later. But the other focus of, I think you got to keep in mind, it really didn't sink in this time, is the focus of this particular Mecum auction is a Parnelli Jones collection. And the reason for the Parnelli Jones collection is because it's at Indy in May.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff they're selling for millions of dollars. It just isn't going to be this. Right. Yeah. So,
well, and another thing is even, even when you see like an auction result on, Barrett or Mecum or any of the other auctions, and you see a Honda Dream go for 20 grand, well, you may not believe it. Even when something goes for that high, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the actual market value for that bike.
No, that's true.
So it's the same on the other end. You see an iconic bike that you think is worth, even if you're going to say 12 to 20, when you see it bid up to 8 or 9, there again, now you're on the other side of that, where it's not really reflecting the true market, world market of that bike for sure. Hey, Killer.
No, and I think one of the other things is there weren't any resellers in the room. Had there been a reseller in the room, they would have bid it up to 15, 16, 18 grand.
Right.
They just didn't. And so there wasn't anybody there that was interested at all. So you can't really feel bad about it. There are a number of people that would say, well, can you influence what day it goes over the block? I don't know.
Right.
I know
Right.
people that have had cars. They found out when their lot was going to go over the block. They complained about it. They got it moved to another day, but there wasn't any real background to suggest that this was going to be the case with this at all.
Right. Right.
And so that didn't happen. If I were going to do it again, I'd probably ask them, what day are you thinking about putting that across the block? Because this is my concern.
Yeah.
But if the high point, and Steve and I saw some cars there when he was registering, there was an abundance of cars over $4 or $5 million that are in this thing. So no matter what you have, unless it's above six figures, it's probably not going to compete with something that's going to sell for millions of dollars.
Right.
And that's kind of the situation we're in here. So the more traditional sales paths, like the affinity groups on Facebook, the CB750 forum, you're already getting feedback from people that they're interested in the bike.
Right.
And
Yeah. I
that's
just got an email from a guy off of that page, interested in knowing what the reserve was or what my lowest take would be. And, but let me back up a little bit. I'll tell you guys the whole process here. So, basically I called Mecum, or sent an email in. They called me back, and, basically it's $350 to enter your vehicle, and then at the end of the auction, it's going to be 10%. So a $20,000 bike, you're gonna pay a couple $100 in the ending fee after the hammer, and then the 350 entry, and then if you want it detailed, it'd be another $100, something like that.
And be careful what you ask for.
Be careful what you ask for there, because we have a couple little marks on there that aren't that great. So, hey, Aaron, you saw Killer's in here. He's on my lap.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a whole show where he just walks back and forth.
Yeah, might have to angle the camera a little more. He likes to lay down, but then he'll hear a sound and then dig his claws into you. So anyway, yeah, and then basically you have a specific time where you take the bike down there. You walk in, you'll register. They'll take you back. You give them the title. You sign a waiver for them to sign the title over to the new buyer if there is one, and then you wait for the auction to happen. Bonnie and I went out of town, then we came back, and of course, yeah, I would assume that Tuesday is not a great day. Of course, everybody there that has a car that's going through would love to have it done on the weekend when more people are there, and but you have online people, so you have online people watching, but they're just not looking for this type of bike, or many of the bikes that were there didn't do too well, but for some reason the CT70s, the little Z50s, and what's the other one that's a 50? It's a
there's a Z50. There's
what is that called?
There's a monkey bike. It's different than a Z50, I think. I'm not really current on.
We've had like only one or two of them in the shop.
Yeah.
Tom has one too. It's a 50. It's a Honda 50, but it's not the Z.
Oh, there's an MR50.
Yeah, there's the MR.
And then there's like a 50 Elsinore.
I didn't look to see what the MR went for.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know that Tracy was restoring one, and I don't know if he had one in this
trail,
one.
he says here. Yeah, I think the mini trails are
the
70s.
Q50. Thanks, Keith. Yeah, Keith knew what I was talking about.
The Flea.
Yeah, the Q50 was there. I didn't see how what that went for, but some of those CT70s, when the restored ones are going for 10 grand.
Yeah.
And I do know for a fact that there's a guy that takes restored ones to all the different auctions, and almost every time he's getting 9, 10, 11 grand for those bikes.
My take on those is
mind blowing.
They're a lot like the neon signs they're selling. Somebody wants it in their collection, but it's not really to be used. It's just sitting on the wall, taking up, some interest.
Yeah. Put it in their foyer.
Yeah. And if they're buying $1 million car, paying 10 grand for a CT70 is not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Right.
And we can attest, and Keith too. Everybody on here in the comments knows who Keith is, and he does a lot of restorations, a lot more than most of us around here. And to restore a CT70 is going to cost you about $4 or $5 grand, or close to it.
Yeah, even if you use Chinese parts,
in money and time, for sure. So when you look at it that way, it's still a motorcycle. You're still pulling an engine out and restoring it, rebuilding it, and you're taking everything apart and putting it all back together with new parts. It doesn't take long to get up to $10,000. That's for sure.
No, and
with labor and everything.
And again, it's one of the reasons why this motorcycle is so unusual is that it hasn't been restored, it hasn't been painted, it hasn't been disassembled. There's a lot of reasons why this would be an attractive buy for somebody that understands what it is. Mm-hmm. So, again, wrong place, wrong day. Wrong marketplace, really. So, live and learn. Yeah.
So, any of you guys that are on live, have any of you entered your bike into an auction, whether it be Mecum or Bring a Trailer? We've talked about Bring a Trailer before. Now, I did get a bad feeling when I went up to stand with my bike before it was going on. One of the guys immediately came up and was not really trying to talk me into taking the reserve off, but he was really wanting to see, how low you could go, because I think he already knew that this was not the crowd for that bike. And then after it was done, he came back and he's like, yeah, this isn't the crowd. That bike just is not for that crowd, and that crowd was not for this bike.
Yeah. And we talked about the other things that you saw today included cars, and you thought maybe the high watermark was 50 grand, and yeah. I did see a lot of cars going for less than 10. Right. And a lot of cars going for, not all that much money. And I wouldn't say the sparklers were just non-existent today, right, but virtually all of the really high-end cars are going to go Friday, Saturday. And so, today was just one of those days.
You got to be impressed with the guys that'll put their car through there with no reserve.
Yeah.
Because there were some pretty scary prices. I mean, really low prices. I know Dusty earlier was saying he should have came up there with some money and gotten a couple good deals. There were some deals to be had. For sure.
There were. I saw 2 cars before I left that I would have considered bidding on if I didn't have so many things now. One of them was and Dusty will probably approve of this. One of them was an XKR coupe, and it was really nice. And it had some aftermarket wheels on it, some really nice conditioning, and it was going to go for about 18 grand. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was great. There was also a BMW there, a 335i hardtop convertible. It was a 2011, and it sold for 12 grand. And I thought, man, that, if you were looking for something like that, it was a good place to buy it. And I don't think of Mecum as a great place to get a deal. But there were lots of deals to be had.
I think there were lots of deals. In fact, down the road, I was thinking about what I'd like to get as far as a car. And Bonnie and I have been talking about maybe some type of a vintage convertible just to go around town on, or go down to Brown County. And that might be a good place to go. I mean, because I'm here and it's Indy Mecum, it doesn't hurt to go down and at least shop.
There were, like I said, I only looked at a couple, but that doesn't mean there weren't 20 cars that I would have considered if I was looking for something like that.
There was an old Rolls Royce that didn't even get up to the reserve. And they were, I think it ended at around $15,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
It must have been a non-desirable one. And I don't think it was running because they were pushing it all the way through there.
No, and I saw a couple of Bentley Continental GTs out in the to-go lot, like they weren't on the block yet, and those are $300,000 cars, and they were expecting 60 to 70,000. So you can buy them. Again, you have to maintain it, which is prohibitive. But still, there were some beautiful cars for not a lot of money. There was a 2012 Mercedes SL 600, and it had like 15,000 miles on it. Yeah. And they sold it for $41,000, which I thought was a giveaway.
John, I don't know if they publish a catalog, but I mean, you can get online and look through every day, the auction for every day, what's going to go through, and get a good idea of what's going to be up for auction. There were probably 2,500 cars there, I would say.
Yeah,
or
at least
more.
that many lots for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, to keep it motorcycle related, knowing what I know now, of course, I was kind of a guinea pig, I guess you'd say. So it was $350 to go in. I did get five free tickets out of the deal. I talked them into a few more free tickets for the guys at the shop, whoever wanted to go. And I'll answer that in a minute there, Keith. Got a free T-shirt. $350 T-shirt. No,
Nice.
no. And then of course they had the free Hellcat rides, and Jimmy was not there, Keith. Jimmy Kite goes down there, and he's one of the drivers, and Keith was able to ride with him. Jimmy's an ex IndyCar driver that lives here in the Brownsburg area. But anyway,
if Roy Carruthers is watching this, I know you have some good Jimmy Kite stories.
We did do the ride, Keith. So Tom and myself and Clayton, I went with Clayton. Clayton went in the front seat. I was in the back seat with the camera, and I couldn't even hold it steady. I mean, they were ripping it pretty good. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But
you might want to tell them the Clayton story about,
which one?
You had to go save him from the parking lot.
Yeah, Clayton comes down. So this is our old shop kid. You know,
he got a free ticket.
A couple days. He had a free ticket at will call, but he had no money to park. So he calls me up, and we had to go out and bail him out. Yeah, nice. Real nice. Good job, Clayton.
Shout out Clayton.
Shout out to Clayton. But yeah, those Hellcats were definitely insane. 700 plus horse, and let's see, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 curves, and then a straightaway. And it was all drifting, and all you could hear the tires screeching, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, those cars will be available for sale after it's over.
Oh man, I can't imagine all the tires that they're going through doing that. But I did meet a guy that was the driver who would haul those cars to each event. So and I wouldn't want one of those cars after.
If I was going to buy one, it wouldn't be that one.
It better be
as far as you know.
Pretty good discount.
Probably so.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of the experience. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I
don't know. I think it was good, and I think you should get credit for doing it at all, because it was a Hail Mary. Hey, let's see what happens. Yeah. You were willing to do it. You were willing to part with it if you got to reserve. Yeah. Arguably, the reserve was a little lower than what you would have expected it to sell for. So you were willing to put it up there for it. And, the fact that it didn't turn out optimally doesn't mean that it was a bad experience at all.
No. I mean,
it was expensive for not.
It was expensive, considering it didn't sell.
Right.
But, in 2 or 3 years, that $350 is going to come back in more value on the bike. What's something else I would take out of this? Basically, it's something I never really thought about doing. And now that I know what the experience is like, and I've seen what's gone on at Vegas and some of the other auctions, I can see where it could just be like this at any given time, and it's almost like that on eBay. But I mean, it used to be you could buy something on Craigslist and almost double your money if you put it on eBay. Craigslist has kind of, the whole bottom has fallen out of that. Like, it's almost like the website's fallen apart. There's just nothing on there, and it's all going kind of toward marketplace. And eBay's still kind of there, because you still see some bikes that are selling pretty well, like the CB400F someone asked me about. I went on there. Excuse me. There's a couple of them that were going from 8 to 10 grand, and
which is pretty close to what you would expect in this market if it's a really nice one.
And I've been not doing the eBay thing and not been buying and flipping for about 3 or 4 years. So I've kind of lost touch where that is, I would say.
But you still have the same options with eBay that you have with others. You can put a reserve on it.
Yeah.
It's less expensive than Mecum for sure.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, you're taking
you're-
less of a chance.
Yeah, and you're speculating in a different way, and
Yeah.
it has to do with who's paying attention, what day it is, what month it is. But it's not as rifle shot as taking it to one place where they're selling neon signs within 5 minutes of your motorcycle. It's not the same thing.
Right.
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
different.
So probably from here, what do you do? Well, it's still mine. It's still plated. I'll just ride it. And then I have one person interested that reached out with an email. And then after that, I think I'm going to put it on eBay, and we'll see kind of what happens. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think Dusty's making a good point.
Yeah, put that up there.
The good thing is you have the opportunity to sell it to somebody you're looking at face to face, perhaps, and that might be a better thing, because if it is meaningful to you, and it is for sure, because we know what it is, the person that gets it, it sounds crazy. Once the money changes hands, you're done. But you do kind of hope that it goes to someplace they really appreciate it.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Even if they're going to resell it, if they appreciate it, that's fine. If they have a buyer, that's their deal.
Yep.
And I get that. And I guess I'm reading this for the first time. You sold the red Sportster that was an award winner multiple times over.
Was that the one that had the hole through the middle of the tank?
Yes, a very creative way of building something in general. Dusty's skills are evident when you see it. But yeah, what'd you get for it? Did it meet reserve?
Yeah, did it meet your reserve? Yeah, I guess you didn't do it on an auction, right? No one else posted anything about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate the I'm a part of a lot of Facebook groups, and of course every Facebook group is going to have kind of your negative Nettie, I call them, your guy that comes on, and no matter what you post, they have to find something negative to say. But
it's like the Facebook fungus.
For the most part, the CB750 guys and Facebook pages, they're all pretty supportive. I mean, you can throw an ugly resto mod on there, and people will say they like it just to be nice,
Oh, that's true.
So,
or if it hits the exact button that somebody's looking at, like flat seated, lowered CB500s.
And it's not to say you can't give someone a hard time for, making a mistake on something, or having we're all three of us, all three of you, me and Keith, are always looking at these bikes, making sure the wing is flying the right way right there. They're not flying backwards.
We're rivet counters for sure.
Yeah. Count those rivets. But anyway, well, hey, we're going to wrap it up. It'll be a little shorter one. Just wanted to talk about the Mecum experience there, and
thanks for joining us.
How it went. Thanks for stopping in and checking it out. I know some of you will be watching this tomorrow. Hopefully it's not too boring for you, but we'll get something good for next week, as far as maybe bringing on another special guest. I know that's kind of nice. And
so my tip of the day before
the tip of the day.
We close.
Tip of the day.
If you go to a motorcycle auction, bring your money. Bring the money.
Bring the money, man.
Show it's the money.
Good golly, right? All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in again, guys. You guys all take care.
Bye.